Okay, good morning and welcome to day 2 of our slope lessons. Remember yesterday we talked about how do we find slope from a graph. Today we're going to move on to finding slope from ordered pairs. And then tomorrow we'll find slope from a table. So we're going to do in the note packet today, if you're following along, we will be doing examples 1 through 3 on the back of the first page. Okay, so ordered pairs is what we're going to be focusing on today. And the first thing that I want to remind you is that when we have ordered pairs, they go in order, and the first coordinate would be your x coordinate, and the second coordinate is going to be your y coordinate. So it always goes x comma y. Now, you can find slope from ordered pairs by using a formula, and that formula is this, and I'll explain it in just a second. It is y2 minus y1 on the top, and then the bottom of the fraction will be x2 minus x1, and then we are going to find those values and we're going to try and divide, and if we cannot divide, we will simplify. Okay, so this is the slope formula, and you're probably wondering, what are these little 2's and 1's for? What do they stand for? And so I'm going to use the example to show you. So example 1 says, given 4 comma 1 and 5 comma 4, what is the slope of the line? Okay, so we just talked about the fact that when you have an ordered pair, the first number is your x value. So what that means is that this is going to be our x, the 4 is our x, and the 1 is our y. On the other one, x would be 5 and 4 would be y. Now, those little 1's and 2's really are going to go with these, and they just stand for which one comes first and which one comes second. So since this is the first ordered pair, 1's go on the x and y, and so this is the second ordered pair, so 2's go on the x and y. So that's where our x1's and y1's come from. Now we're going to use this formula and just take the numbers that are labeled. So the first thing we need is a y2. So according to this 4 is y2. So we're going to start by writing 4. It's always minus in our slope formula. So we always write, no matter what, we're going to write minus down. And then we're going to find our value for y1, which in this case is 1. And then the bottom will be x2 minus x1. So x2 is 5, minus again, x1 would be 4. And now we're going to simplify the top and the bottom. So 4 minus 1 is 3. And 5 minus 4 is 1. And then just like yesterday with finding slope from a graph, we're going to first try and divide, and if we can't divide, then we will simplify. So if you try and divide 3 divided by 1, you get 3. And that is the slope of the line. If you were to draw these two ordered pairs on the graph, plot the points, and then draw a line through them, the slope would be 3. Okay, so let's try again. Let's see if you picked this up, and let's add a little challenge in there of negatives. So it says, example 2 says, given -1, 3, and 4, -2, what is the slope of the line that passes through these points? So I worded this example a little bit differently because I need you to realize that slope is actually from a line. So these two ordered pairs, if we picture them in our head, they're going to be little dots on the graph. And what you would do is draw a line through those dots. And it's asking you, what would the slope of that line actually be if you were to draw it? And you can find it without drawing it. So what we do is use the formula. All right, let's do this again. So you want to label. As you're doing this, you always want to start by labeling x, y, and this is the first ordered pair, so these get 1's, and this is the second ordered pair, so these get 2's. It helps to label them so that you don't get confused when we use our formula, okay? And so now we're going to start with y2 minus y1. So y2 is negative 2 minus y1 is going to be 3. And then the bottom, x2 minus x1. So x2 is 4 minus x1 is going to be negative 1. So I know we put a minus sign, but we still have to use negative 1. So the minus is always there, and that's going to look weird. So we have a minus and a negative right in a row, and we are going to deal with that now when we simplify. So you can use a calculator on this if you don't know your integers very well, but you should realize that negative 2 minus 3 more is going to give us negative 5. And you can check that on your calculator just to make sure, negative 2 minus 3 more, negative 5. Now, when you type in the bottom, and you might already know this, but if you have minus negative right in a row, those cancel out, and that's something that you learn in 7th grade math. Just to show you how to type it in, though, 4 minus negative 1, negative 1 equals, and so minus negative, like I said, is going to cancel out, making a positive, and that makes positive 5. Now, if you divide negative 5 divided by 5, that does divide, and our slope ends up being negative 1. So if you were to draw that line through those two ordered pairs, your slope would be traveling down in a negative way, and it would be negative 1, meaning it's not all that steep, all right? The slope of 3 would be steeper than the slope of negative 1, but traveling in the other direction. Okay, one last one, and again, lots of negatives in here, which is where students sometimes get confused. So it's so important that you label your ordered pairs and then follow the order of the formula. So our ordered pairs are going to be x, y, sorry, got to get my marker out, x, y, x, y. Okay, first ones get 1s, second ones get 2s. And now make sure you follow the order given. So y2 is negative 2. That's what we're going to start with, negative 2. We always put a minus sign because that's our formula. And then y1 in this case is 5. Bottom would be x2, so that's going to be negative 4. Always a minus sign here. And then x1 this time is negative 2. Okay, so now you either can know this from 7th grade math, or in my case right now, since we're just starting, we're going to use a calculator, and this is how we type it in. Negative 2 minus 5 more is going to give you negative 7 for our top number. All right. Again, you look at this, and this middle guy has minus and negative right in a row. So if you remember from 7th grade math, that cancels out, making that a plus. So it's really like negative 4 plus. But if you have a calculator, you can type it in as you see it. Negative 4 minus negative 2 equals, and you get negative 2. Now, if you try to divide this, negative 7 divided by negative 2, this one you get a decimal. We do not want a decimal for our slope. So you got to think about this. Is there anything that I could divide negative 7 and negative 2 by, the same exact number that's not 1? And there's not. So usually we would just circle this and say, well, that's our slope, that's our answer. Now there's one weird thing here, and you'll notice when I divided it, I got a positive decimal. So something to realize is that if you get a negative numerator and a negative denominator, that means that those will cancel, making our slope positive 7 over 2. And that's our slope. Okay, hopefully you find this helpful. Again, we will go over slope from a table, not tomorrow actually, but the next day. And today our focus is just slope from ordered pairs. If you are in my class and you're trying to follow along, the homework today is going to be our slope number 2 worksheet looking like this, okay? And there is a front and a back there. You want to follow this same process of using the formula and then dividing or simplifying if you can, and that's what you're going to do. Okay, hopefully this is helpful, and if you have any questions, please email me.